So that's on your dime, not mine. So, I won't be there at 9 o'clock, and I won't be here at 9 o'clock. I got another schedule. But if it's sincere, I'm sure you'll find a way to get with me. 82% are succeeding.
Yes, sir.
On whose standard?
According to the meeting the adequate yearly performance, according to the standards that are set up by the PSSA.
So, the way I measure it is that commerce stays in Pennsylvania. That China, Japan, and India aren't eating our clocks in terms of engineering, math, and science. Global standards, my friend, are the things that we have to become proficient in and knowledgeable about. And by anybody's standards, Pennsylvania is not doing well, whether you live in Montgomery County or whether you live in Philadelphia County. These children, unfortunately, academically, when you look at the top colleges who are graduating students across globally, and I'm interested in your reaction, we're graduating these students, and they think that they're smart, and frankly, they're not competitive. That's what commerce is telling us. That's what the business community is telling us. That's what foreign trade is telling us. That's what every global consideration. That's when ABC, Channel 6, Channel 10, Fox, I don't care who, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, whoever it is, they all write the same thing. And I'm assuming you're reading those same articles.
Yes.
All right. So the 82% to me, trotting it out is it's a great success story, concerns me because it's not a great success story. It's a great mediocre story. And we got to do a lot more that Senator Piccola and Senator Dinniman had talked about earlier. But that said, we're here to talk about a small, narrow band. By everybody's numbers, it's 5%, 10% at best. You came up with $1 billion. I'm trying to figure out how you got the $1 billion. Well, let's just take your $1 billion. Let's take your $1 billion number, right? We spend $26 billion in Pennsylvania. Are you opposed to spending $1 billion on correcting this population of students to move them along academically?
I'm not opposed to spending $1 million.
No, $1 billion.
I'm not opposed to spending $1 billion on programs that we know work for children.
Right.
Matter of fact, I'm hoping that I would love it if the Senate would, vote to make sure that our schools are fully funded this year. I would be thrilled to do that.
Trust me, I've heard the rhetoric since I arrived in the legislature. Full funding is a term of art that, you know what, I don't even know what it means. Because guess what, when I talk to people and I ask them factually in their office privately, what is that number? They don't have one. They just keep coming up and asking for more money. So we don't want to have that conversation. Let's just have this conversation. Mm-hmm. So the $1 billion that you want to know that's measurable, who tells you that it's working?
Who tells you that it works?
You're the one who said you want to have programs that are measurable and successful. So who's to tell you that the program is measurable and successful?
Well, I would take the same test scores that you're giving us and telling us that the students are not achieving.
So that would be the
which
standard.
are the PSSA tests.
Okay.
And if you're using those to say these schools are not succeeding, then those are the places we need to start.
You would be willing to take that $1 billion, put it in a place of measurement, and say if a child left what we described as a failing school and went to another school, and then we tested them the next year, you'd be supportive of that?
Not necessarily, because I believe that we ought to take the $1 billion and invest it in our schools so that every child is successful.
Well, my mom is a retired public school teacher and administrator. She used to come home and talk exactly like you. And I don't know what the hell that meant. Of course we want them to succeed. Right? Of course. Be specific. I want to have specific terms. Because Dalen is over there trying to help you get me persuaded to a different position. And he scratches his head sometime. Okay? So the question I have is, or whatever his question is, I have that question. But the question is, the $1 billion, I'm asking you a very direct question. If I guarantee you that these children, using these vouchers, go to a school that we will measure them, their academic success by, as compared to where they left, would you take that?
I would certainly reconsider that, but I want to see also the financial accountability for these schools. I want to see that these children are going to succeed, and I want to see that the program that you implement is going to hold harmless all the children that are left behind in the other schools.
So I just asked for the first part first. All right. And I know Christmas has got to come, and manna has to fall from the sky. Trust me, I knew that was coming. I just want to start to the very specifics. The $1 billion in a program of fiscal accountability to make sure nobody's stealing the money, if you will, right? We're not sending them to schools that people would steal from. Or, of course, as Senator Pecola said, nobody does that in the public process. They're all saints. They don't steal money. There's no bribery. There's no collusion. There's none of that happens that we see in the papers every day. But that said, you would support a program if you could measure academic success.
And again, I would...
And fiscal accountability, whatever that means.
I would support a program if you have a different funding stream. You set up a separate line item that much money in it.
Wait a minute.
Wait, Senator.
What's the different funding stream? What is that? When people say that, I mean, what does that mean? Come on, that's like gibberish. What do you mean different funding stream? We only have one pot of money. The question is what we do with the money we have. Okay? And this hold harmless nonsense? What is hold harmless? You said something at the beginning of your statement. You said something about failing schools. I'm not sure the consequence of that. No, the school doesn't fail. The kid does. I don't want to hear about hold harmless. They already harmed of your own mouth. Are you going to sit in front of this committee and say there are no schools which are bad or failing? Of course they are. The question is what we do about them. Senator Leach asked you about them. Drug counseling, parental accountability, safety. Not one word about academics. I took the charge. I'll take the challenge. I'll put something in the bill that says, if money goes to X school, then that school has to measure that they're achieving academically. I'll take that bet. I'll take that bet that says fiscally they have to be sound and responsible and transparent. I'll take that. I'm not falling into delusional hold harmless. Why shouldn't I harm a failing school? Why not? Answer that question. Why should I fund something that's already described as failing? Why would I want to hold it harmless?
Because there's still all those children left behind in that school building, and I believe that we need to work with not just the children who leave the school to a new voucher program, but every child in that building and every child in that school. So what I would suggest is that we take the money that you have available and we put it into that school and make that school work.
What is hold harmless, by the way?
Hold harmless is that the school has the same funding and you're not taking $9,000
Well, why
per
would
child.
if they don't have the same number of students, why would they get the same amount of money?
Well, Senator, if we take, in my class, let's say that we take one child out of my classroom, that doesn't reduce the cost of my classroom, though it's $9,000 less than that child.
If you take 5% out of a building, it takes a teacher out of the building, doesn't it?
Depending on if they all come out of the same classroom. But if you take 5 students out of 2nd grade, 5 students out of 3rd grade, 5 students out of 4th grade, 5 students out of 5th grade, you're not going to get rid of a teacher.
Then you start changing the school itself. But that said, my question is very direct on that. I don't understand if something's not working, why you continue to send money. And by the way, with all due respect, you take somebody out of that classroom under this current construct, you don't take all the money. Do you? You don't take all the money.
If my understanding of your bill is if you take a student out of my classroom and send them to a private school, you're taking, on average, the state supplement for that child, on average $9,000 out of my classroom, out of my school.
And to make up the $26 billion in Pennsylvania, it has what you and I both know what the composition of funding for public schools are in Pennsylvania.
Right.
Local, state, and federal.
That's right.
Philadelphia County, $17,000, $3.2 billion. On average, let's take it down to 17, some people are even 15, 14, I don't care what it is. There's money left behind for those poor Jimmies that you're worried about or whoever you think is of concern. There's money left behind. There's money to pay for the light bills, and matter of fact, there's more money because the child left. The building's still there. The teacher's still getting paid. I don't understand the math. And you reduce class size. I don't understand what's a bad deal about this.
I'll take the same privilege Senator Williams took when I testified, or when I asked questions, which is that I would be happy to explain this to him when it's my turn to talk. It's very simple.
That's true, but the bottom line is I drew the bill up. He doesn't have one. He's going to give you answers, but he can, he's a lawyer, so as a consultant, he can do that for you. In the meantime, I'm asking the person who came to testify, was either read the bill, understands the bill, is arguing against the bill. I want to understand how all the things I just said were a bad deal. We will take the academic measurement. We will fiscally have transparency. And 3, we'll leave money behind.
I'll be glad to take a look at that bill and read that bill and work with you to see if we can make it work.
And if that is satisfied, what will you do then?
We'll take it to our experts who understand.
Well, would you support it?
If what you're saying is true, that there's
Fiscal transparency, academic measurements, and leave money behind.
You're saying that you will hold the private schools to the exact same standards as public schools?
No, because you know what? That's not good enough. That's the point. That's the point. Okay? Absent a selective school from which, I didn't even deal with that part. We're going to leave these children behind and everybody gets to go to, the school doesn't get to choose. Come on, Central exists in Philadelphia. You know about that, right? Does everybody get to go there? No. So let's just, the little game we play on public education, magnet schools exist, selective schools exist, transfer, somebody calls up somebody, they get certain schools. Come on, we all know what that's about. We know that. You and I both been in business. You've been around here for 32 years. You know how it works. So I'm not even going to play that. I'm saying to you, let's deal with right now. You want to ask me the question about will that school improve the child's academic outcome? I'll measure them. We'll measure them. So we won't waste money on this $1 billion project, which is not $1 billion, but this $1 billion consideration. 2, we'll make sure no fiscal shenanigans are going to go on, because they're only going to go to buildings that don't commit fiscal shenanigans. And 3, we'll leave money behind, which is held harmless. Will you support that?
I would certainly be willing to work with you on that bill.
Will you support that?
I don't know, Senator, until I would read it and see exactly what it says.
All right. Well, no, I'm saying what you told me. I'm saying we'll put that in the bill. Would you support that bill?
I would support rewriting that bill and taking a look at it. Yes, sir. Senator, I can't agree to something I haven't read.
You said it. You said it. I asked you what would make you support it. You said these things, and then you added one more thing. Held harmless. I added that in to the pot. Fine, you got your bill. And now you don't want. Now you want to reread your bill?
No, I would very much like to see that bill, and I'd be glad to work with you on that bill.
Does that mean that you'd get 191,000 people to say okay to it?
I don't know that. I'm not sure I could get 191,000 people to say anything, Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
comment.
And
by the way, you look like you're of a certain generation. You have silver hair. You know the GI Bill?
No.
You never heard of the GI Bill?
I heard of it. I thought you said, am I on the GI Bill? Was I on the GI Bill?
Well, you're past being on the GI Bill. You've heard of the GI Bill?
Yes, sir.
And you know how successful that was?
Yes.
And you know money went to private institutions?
Yes.
And it produced more college graduates than any other country in the world.
GI Bill was one of the best bills ever passed by Congress.
And they didn't have fiscal transparency. They didn't have academic measurements. They just say, go get an education at a college. You know that, right?
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Chair thanks the gentleman. Chair recognizes Senator Schmucker.
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Smucker.